In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser and this is my husband Joe.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
I'm much better than I was this morning, thanks.
What was up this morning?
Well, we'll come to that in a minute. But first of all, what are we drinking?
We're drinking Parma Violet flavoured gin.
Yeah. Cheers. This is still on the Christmas present sent to me by my lovely client Teresa. Hi Teresa.
Hi Teresa.
We're still working our way through the miniature bottles of gin, and this one, because the others are all liqueurs, which I think don't need tonic, but this one was Parma Violet gin. What's it like?
It tastes like a little old lady's sock drawer.
I've never tasted a little old lady's sock drawer, thankfully. Okay, so describe. It's kind of blue, isn't it?
It's kind of blue. I don't know. Have you ever licked an aged ant?
Let's move on. Yeah, it does taste like the Parma Violet sweets, though. Misty would like this. She likes Parma Violet.
Misty is wrong.
You can have that argument with her next week. Because we are flying to, well, by the time you hear this, we will be in Portugal.
Breaking bread.
Where it will be cooler than it's apparently going to be here next week. So enjoy the heat. That's Noodle that you can hear in the background. He's
got a good whinge on.
He's got a good whinge on. What's up, Nudes? Are you coming up? Come up here.
What do you need, Noodle?
Come up here. Come on. Talk amongst yourselves, Joe.
So Noodle is contemplating very seriously getting on Vicky's knee right now, and yes,
and there he is.
Here he is.
Are you going to say hi, Noodle? No. Okay. Right, so let's do a quick Dingle update because we didn't do a podcast last week. So
that was terrible. Why didn't we do a podcast last week?
Oh, just reasons.
Just
many reasons.
Just a lack of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dingle update. We are replacing the infill on the timber portion of the house across the front of the house so that we can do the sole plates.
Yep, we were expecting them to be brick. They are not all brick. One of them has been absolutely beasted at some point in the past with... Basically, they nailed a couple of wood boards up on either side of the timber frame and just poured concrete into it, right?
Yes, they cast in situ a vertical slab of concrete. Steel reinforced, obviously, because, why not?
Which, I don't know how horrific you think that is, but for the first time since we have taken on this project... It had me in floods of tears and I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, it was horrible. We spent several hours chiselling away at this thing. Normally we kind of go, all right, we need to take a panel out and they're bricks. So you bash a brick to bits and then you can just knock the rest of the bricks out. And it's pretty, an hour and a half or so and you've got it all out.
Yeah.
This, we spent 3 or 4 hours at it and managed to notch a little groove into it.
Yeah, well, we could just about get our hands through a little hole. So we went and rented a steel saw. Danger
saw.
Which,
if you're not sure what one of those is, big petrol-driven circular saw thing for chopping through concrete.
At which point, Joe got up on the Tower of Death.
The death scaffold.
The scaffold of death, which is just horrifyingly dangerous at the best of times. And he got up there with this danger saw, and I was at the bottom absolutely sobbing because I was 100% convinced that you were going to die and I was going to watch you die, and it was horrific. You have no idea how awful that was.
Anyway. Didn't die.
Thankfully. We did get rid of the concrete, but the worst thing of all was that this saw we'd obviously put dust sheets and stuff up in the attic upstairs, which is the beautiful room that we've finished. And this saw filled the attic with smoke and dust, and I just went upstairs and just lost it.
It was not pretty.
It was not. And it was only dust, but we'd finished this room, and then this fucking panel had destroyed it. It was not a good day, was it, Joe?
Not a good day. And it took, instead of it taking an hour and a half to take a panel out and then a couple of hours to put a new panel in, it took all day Saturday to get the panel out.
And then went in fairly quick on Sunday, didn't it?
It went okay on Sunday.
Yeah. So that was that, but
It's rubbish.
it was totally rubbish. But our tiny sheeps are adorable.
They're very good.
They have learned how to open door, or Bronson has learned that if he stands up on his hind legs and pushes the back door, the half door, the stable door, it will open. So I keep finding him in the house behind me.
Yeah, that's not ideal, to be fair. No sheep in the house.
It's very good. And we are building a new hen palace.
Yes. New hen house.
Thank you very much to Jodes for giving us
Hi, Jodie.
old coop. Not
an old coop, an old run.
An old run, which we are going to make out of weld mesh, and it's going to be super fox proof, and we're going to have a brand new chicken house to go onto the edge of it, and it's just going to be fantastic.
But first, obviously, there's a whole bunch of landscaping and chopping down brambles and nettles and God knows what, and shoveling of earth and
Joe-sized nettles.
Pulling up tree stumps and all that kind of nonsense to make a bit of land flat enough and big enough to put this stuff on.
Yeah. And all of this is entirely relevant to what we're going to be talking about today in the podcast. It is, yes, because you remember this morning we decided that we were going to do a wall panel this morning. We were going to do another wall panel this morning.
Yes.
And it didn't happen because we overslept a little bit, but also we went outside and realised that we couldn't plaster. We couldn't actually get to the outside of it to do the work because the porch is in the way.
It's above the porch.
And
our tower is just a straight up and down tower, and we couldn't get... Yeah, there's no ground underneath where we needed it to be.
Yeah, and it just, even though we've been looking at the outside of this house for, months planning this, it just didn't click that we wouldn't be able to reach...
We would have been able to knock a big hole in the front of the house.
And we would have been able to put one layer of cork, which isn't at all sturdy.
Or weatherproof.
But we wouldn't have been able to get to safely, or even not safely.
It would have been, planks balanced on things.
Yeah, so that was a bit of a setback, and it was really disappointing because, we've got this plan in August. We want the front of the house basically to be done by the end of August, and I'll come to that in a moment. But it wasn't a very good morning this morning because you'd said, we're going to have something to eat, that's fine. And you said, let's have some muesli, or moosli, as Joe called it.
I was going to have some... I mean, I'm a really simple soul, so I just make sure that there's a couple of kilos of muesli knocking around and some milk, and then I can have breakfast.
And that's fine.
It's not complicated.
Normally I have a bagel, and Joe was like, "Oh, have some muesli," and I was like, "Okay."
I didn't persuade you into the muesli.
No, I'm not blaming you for the muesli at all. I'm not.
Moosli.
Moosli. Moosli. But I do take issue with you calling my herbal tea misery tea when you indulge in misery breakfast every morning. Because it's just not fun. It's like endurance food.
It's totally not.
It's like endurance food. But it made me cry. And the reason...
You've burst into tears about 5 times so far on this podcast, and we've only been going a couple of minutes.
I know. And so, yeah, why did the muesli make me cry? Well, I don't think it was really the muesli, but a realisation hit me as I was chewing it that it was just taking me forever to chew this breakfast. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And then it struck me that I don't chew my food properly. And I was like, oh, why is that? And I think it's because I feel like I haven't got time to eat properly, which is just the most ridiculous thing in the world. And so I think that was the kind of trigger for this whole muesli made me cry thing.
I don't have time to chew this.
Which is the stupidest thing in the world. I'm really hoping that somebody listening to this is going to go, "You're not a lunatic. I know how you feel." Anyway, but... what we're talking about today is this I don't have time to chew my food issue, because that's ludicrous. And I think that even though it might not present for other business owners in quite the same way as it did for me with kind of endurance food and crying.
This breakfast is taking too long. Screw this bowl of muesli.
I did actually abandon the bowl of music because I wasn't really enjoying it either. So, but yeah. That kind of led me to think, okay, this podcast needs to happen because I'm sure I'm not the only person who is reduced to tears by muesli. So I hope not anyway.
Feeling unsustainable time pressure.
Yes.
On a host of different fronts.
Yes.
That leads to, yeah.
And it's not even the time pressure. I think it's trying to store all of the things in your head is just not a reasonable thing to do. And so I think any regular listeners are going to know that I've been a big fan of the self-journal for a long time. It's been my Bible. It goes everywhere with me, doesn't it? It goes literally everywhere with me. But it wasn't quite doing it for me. And one of the problems with it, I think, was the 12-week goal. 12 weeks is simply too long for me. It's like the 12-week year was created because a year is too long for people. Mm-hmm. And then 6 months is too long. And so he created the 12-week year. It's like, do a thing in 3 months. And that's your year and you get more done. And I love that idea. I love the idea of it. It's never quite worked for me because I found that I get to about week 8 or 9 and I just start to tail off. And the last 2 or 3 weeks of my self-journal are just whatever. And whatever I'm working on doesn't really happen. It's not that it doesn't happen, but it just, the motivation disappears. And
it's like when you discover you're not a marathon runner, you're a 10k runner, and then you realise you're not a 10k runner, you're a 5k runner, and you
and eventually you realise that actually you just rather sit on the sofa.
Just don't want to run. So yeah, maybe this is just you realising like the time frame in which you like to project.
Yeah, I get bored easily, and I lose. It's not that I get bored easily, because I don't actually. I don't think I get bored easily. I think I'm interested in a lot of things.
I think you find the next thing you prefer to do.
Yes,
at that sort of rate.
Yeah, and studies have found that the longer something takes, the less motivated you are to finish it, because it just feels like it's never going to end. So I need to thank Yinka. Hi, Yinka.
Hi, Yinka.
For introducing me and suggesting the bullet journal method as the next Bookaholics book, which is what we're reading this month. And then John H. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Has started, as part of our accountability for the superheroes, has started doing monthly sprints.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about how I've combined the bullet journal and the self-journal, and it's early days yet, but I feel like it's already making a massive difference because apart from anything else, I've got everything written down so I don't have to hold it all in my tiny little brain. Mm-hmm. And I've been really excited. And you've seen some of the stuff that I've done, haven't you? And it's looking pretty good.
I think for me, my emails are pretty much where my knowledge resides these days.
See, that just makes me want to throw up in horror.
Well, yeah.
But if it works for you, then that's cool.
It kind of does work for me. But other people look at my email inbox and just go, what the hell's all this about? Because there's a lot of it, frankly.
Your inbox just makes me want to set fire to the world. Mind you, Misty's does as well. It usually says like 12,000 unopened emails. And I'm like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, mine's kind of like that.
It's horrific. Anyway, so I've kind of abandoned the self-journal. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that the format of it just doesn't quite work for me. Mm-hmm. But I've taken the best bits of the self-journal and incorporated it into the bullet journal. And the reason that I love the bullet journal so much is because it keeps everything in one single notebook instead of in 481 different notebooks and scraps of paper and electronic documents, which is where I have things at the moment.
So what are the defining features that differentiate a bullet journal from just a journal?
Okay, so the bullet journal, it's really just an organisational tool, and I would thoroughly recommend that you read the bullet journal method by Ryder Carroll, because it explains everything and I've been working through it. But fundamentally, it's just a place for you to keep everything in your brain and your life. And I think the main difference of it is that right at the beginning of your bullet journal, you have a couple of pages that's just for the index. So for example, it's not like you have to, because something that I've struggled with in the past when taking notes and things is, I don't know, I haven't finished doing this thing, but I don't know how many pages it's going to be, so I'm just going to leave this gap. And then I don't know, But with this, so for example, I have in this bullet journal, I've got, what's a good one? Okay, stories. I've got a collection called Stories, and in that collection are fiction ideas that I've come up with when I'm doing my 750 words, and it's like, I'm just like randomly writing and thinking and being creative, and I've come up with an idea for a short story or a novel there. Mm-hmm. Most of them will come to nothing, but and every time I do that, I write it down in my journal, and in the index it says Stories, page 15 to 16. Now, once I've run out of that space, because my next thing starts on page 17, I might start my next Stories page on page 53, and that will go in the index as well. And
but it'll go under Stories. So it'll be Stories 15, 16, comma 53.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's, and it kind of sounds like,
sounds like an index.
It sounds like an index, which it is. But his method of doing things is, it's just keeping everything together and keeping all your thoughts together, but organising them in such a way that it's not just random scraps of paper. So
so it's not really this book, is it? It's the skill and the techniques are not in this notebook. The skill and the techniques are in the book, The Bullet Journal Method by Ryder Carroll.
Yes.
That's where the knowledge resides. If you bought this notebook...
Oh, it's just a blank notebook.
It's just a blank notebook. Yeah, that's what it's kind of getting at. Because if you just buy a blank... it's just a blank notebook. You buy that and nothing in your life is going to change.
No.
It's
how you use it. Because you know what my issue with notebooks. I love notebooks. I have
many notebooks.
I have many notebooks. And I used to have, until now, a bazillion notebooks for different things. Now, I still might have a couple of notebooks for different things. For example, if I'm going to be planning out a novel or something, I'm probably going to have a dedicated notebook for writing the notes and the scenes and stuff. But for coming up with ideas and for stuff that's just in my brain on a regular basis, it goes in the bullet journal. Because that way I know exactly where... It's like if I have... so I've got a project called My Office because we're building a new office for me in the garden. Yay! If I know that if I want to know what my office plan is and what I need to do next, I need to turn to page 17 of my bullet journal.
Yes.
And that is where the plan will be. I don't have to search around for the scrap of paper or the document on my computer or... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but also I've got other things in there that are completely unrelated to my office. That I've got a whole Project Dingle mapped out in here. I've got my daily logs. I've got all sorts of stuff.
And so you've gone from not having time enough to chew your food to spending... I mean, you spent a few hours on this, haven't you?
Yeah, I sat in the garden. I say what I did today. Okay, so there have been two things properly stressing me out today, or at the moment, kind of on an ongoing basis. My business master plan and Project Dingle. And Project Dingle, an example would be the scaffolding problem has scuppered today's plan, which makes me feel like we're making no progress.
Right.
And so... Thanks,
Hello,
Noodle. So I'm writing everything down. And when Joe went off to a seminar at the jiu-jitsu place, I sat in the garden, got all of my thoughts and worries and plans down on paper. And I just wanted to run through what I did, because if anybody is feeling totally overwhelmed by their business plans, by their life plans, by making everything fit together so that you enjoy what you're doing instead of bursting into tears at muesli... I wanted to share this because I thought it might help. I'm not going to go through the whole bullet journal method thing because
there's a whole book
on that.
You could just buy it and read that.
But I do want to just run through what I did today and how much better I feel for doing it. Because it was a couple of hours in the garden. It was really nice. So I started with my long-term, medium-term and short-term goals. And I got those down on paper, and I can see they are on page 29, so I just need to turn to page 29. And I scribbled them all down just as they came out of my brain. So things like win the UK Aerial Performance Championships, because that's the competition that I'm in soon. Renovate the Dingle, build a new office, create a beautiful Dingle garden, build a hen palace, write a novel, create 1,000 new authors and transform their businesses, do the splits, win the UK Pole Theatre comedy category, start a writing programme for homeless people, do a successful breaking bread. All of that kind of thing. I just got them out of my head and got them onto there. And then, getting down to the smaller level, it's like prep and record this podcast, level the ground for the coop, mow the lawn, relax and breathe is one of my goals on that I wrote down. And after that, I broke them down into 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is 5-year goals, 4-month goals, 3-week goals, 2-day goals, and 1 hour-ish, today goals kind of thing. And so I sat there and I did that. And so, I've got my 5-year goals, which are renovate the Dingle Garden, write a novel, my business master plan, win UK Pole Theatre, a couple of other bits and pieces, all the way right down to 2 days, create book resources, 1 hour-ish kind of today stuff, prep and record the podcast, level the coop ground, which is going to get migrated because we didn't do that today, relax and breathe, and mow the lawn.
Have you relaxed and breathed?
I have, and I've crossed it off my list. No, you're laughing at that.
So no more relaxing and breathing. You've done it.
No, that's not how it works. But that was a thing for me today, was I was super stressed, and so I needed to sit down and just chill out. And I did that.
And the sheep are good company for that kind of thing.
Sheep are really good company. Although we have established a lot of things that the sheep are not allowed to do today, including no chewing my pens, no licking my bullet journal, no licking my face,
no biting the Mac.
No biting the Mac, no chewing the bookmark, which is now soggy. No dribbling on the journal. Basically many things that the sheeps are not allowed to do. But they're cute, so they get away with it. So that's what I started with. I started with my goals and then I prioritised them. And you're allowed to prioritise one personal and one business goal for each of those kind of separate areas. So my priority for the personal goal was renovate the dingle. The garden comes later. And create 1,000 new authors.
Okay.
Was my other main goal. And so for those two things, I set up a spread in my notebook for each priority.
A spread?
A spread.
You set up a spread?
I set up a spread. So I picked up the next blank page in my notebook, which was page 31 to 32. And I set that as create 1,000 new authors. Now, this is basically creating an entire new business, not quite from scratch. And so on that page, I wrote down my motivation for doing it, what I want to accomplish, what I actually need to do, and what success looks like for me.
Okay.
And it's kind of a massive, scary thing. Because it's like, okay, so how do I coach or guide or whatever 1,000 business owners from wanting to write a book to actually writing a book and using it to transform their business?
Okay.
That's what I would like to do. And so I've got all this stuff written down. It's like why I want to do it and why it's important to me and all the rest of it. And what it requires is a great long list of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
So from that long list of stuff, you start breaking it down. I did the same thing for Project Dingle as well. And Project Dingle has like a massive long list of stuff, like from new windows to knock down the back of the house to, build a new bank and all the rest of it.
Move a couple of 100 tons of stuff and all sorts.
Yeah, and kind of when you write it down like that, it's like that's a massive thing and it's horrifying. And what you want to do when you look at it is cry.
Sell the house and go and live somewhere else.
Yeah, or go and get a job in Aldi. Yeah. in my case. So what do? You break it down into mini projects or sprints, as the bullet journal calls it, and I quite like that. And that's what John was talking about with like a month sprint. It's like I'm going to spend 1 month, the next 4 weeks, working on this specific thing. So for my 1,000 new authors project, my first sprint, because I've finished writing my book and it's with the indexer and I've pretty much done all I can with it for now. Yay! My August sprint is I am going to create and write and make live my minimum viable website.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But then that still seems like a massive thing. It's like, oh God, create a website. Write a website. Ugh. So from there, I've created another spread in my notebook on page 8 to 10 because I set this up a few days ago. That is my August master plan, which is create the website. And so then I've broken that down into week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And I've listed out my tasks for each week. So in week 1, for example, I'm going to choose the theme that I want to use in Thrive. I'm going to create the homepage layout. I'm going to write the copy for the homepage. I'm going to set up my lead magnet and links. And I'm going to check the URL actually works for the development site that I'm working on. That might sound like quite a lot of stuff, but I've already done some of the groundwork, so
cool.
It's not that big a deal.
So,
yes.
What did you do a couple of years ago? What would you have been doing a couple of years ago? Just having a massive pile of stuff in your head?
Yeah, a massive pile of stuff in my head until I got the self-journal, and that was then I would set my 12-week plans. But that was both, the self-journal was both not long-term enough and not short-term enough at the same time, if that makes sense. So I couldn't look at my long-term goal being, it's like today I came up with, okay, so I want to grow my business, I want to do this, that and the other, but I hadn't really crystallized it into something measurable. And it was today that I came up with, I want to create 1,000 new authors. That's what I want to do. And that came out of this process that I'm doing right now. It's not just like, oh, I want to grow my business and do this, that and the other. It's like, very specifically, I want 1,000 business owners to write a book and I want to help them do it. So I couldn't do that before because I just had this nebulous idea in my head of, I was doing stuff almost for the sake of doing it without really realising what I was working towards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you get on that grind. And the beauty of this system is that I'm going to be reviewing everything I do all the time and making sure that it still makes sense, that it's still working towards the goal that I want to work towards. And if it's not, that's okay because I can change it without it just being in my head.
Sure.
And also, I had a to-do list of stuff that was just random shit, It was just everything in my life on one to-do list in the day, none of which I couldn't see how any of it related to any of the individual projects.
Yeah, or the long-term goals or anything.
Exactly. And this system, and, I've kind of adapted. The great thing about the bullet journal is that you can adapt it to work for you. You kind of take the framework. I can see exactly what each of the tasks that I need to do every day is relating to.
Yeah.
And why I'm doing it. And if it doesn't make sense to me, I can be like, do I need to do this at all? And if I don't, cross it off.
Yeah.
So that is what I have spent the day doing today. And suddenly these great big tasks, this like renovate the dingle and, create 1,000 new authors, suddenly it seems really doable because I'm not creating 1,000 new authors in August. I'm getting my minimum viable website up so that I can send people to it so that I don't look like a total amateur because my old website is not good.
Messy.
And it doesn't reflect what I do now either. So it's the same for Project Dingle. In August, the only thing, because I've been like, oh, we need to do this in the stone room so that we can turn it into a bathroom, or we've got all this stuff in the garden to do, and we've got blah, blah, blah. August's only goal is to replace the front of the house. Which sounds like a massive thing, but it's not as big. It's not as big as it sounds. It's not, though, is it?
No, well, no.
No.
No, a couple of years ago it would have seemed like a ridiculous thing, but now it just seems like the thing we need to do next.
We've basically got 8 wall panels to replace throughout August, and then Ken's going to come and put the sole plate in for us.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a massive thing, but it's actually not. It's doable. It's doable as long as we have the equipment that we need. So the very first thing on our list of things to do that you're going to sort out tomorrow at lunchtime
Let's get some scaffolding in.
Get some scaffolding in, get it put up, and and then we're going to keep it for the duration of the renovation because we keep needing scaffolding, and that death tower is horrifying.
Yeah, I think we need to upgrade that.
I'd like, by the way, to point out that the wobbling tower of death was a Christmas present to me from Joe a couple of years ago. I don't know what to read into that.
Sorry about that. How's your life insurance?
Is this where you tell people that I dropped a hammer on your head last week?
So last week we were replacing a panel in the front of the house.
Yeah.
And this panel bridged the attic room and the room below it. So it's a kind of vertical panel and with a bit of floor halfway up it. So I'm leaning out of the bottom one doing stuff when Vicky she dropped a claw hammer from upstairs onto the back of my head. Onto the back of my head? A claw hammer? Yes, I know. It hurt a lot.
I think I was more upset than you, wasn't I?
I think you were.
I was absolutely horrified. It bled and everything, and I was. Oh my god! It was. Oh, it was. It was a catalogue of stupidity from both of us, to be fair, but mostly from me.
Yeah, mostly from throwing a hammer down.
I didn't throw a hammer down. I knocked it off the edge because it was in a stupid place. But we learn these lessons, and
next time I'm upstairs.
Yeah, next time Joe's upstairs, and you get to drop a hammer on my head.
Yay!
So, but honestly, health and safety shit is really important. If you are underneath a ledge like that, you need a bloody hard hat or a not idiot above you.
I'm fine, folks. I'm fine. It's really okay.
You are fine.
I've got a little bit of a scab.
Oh my god, I was absolutely hysterical with horror. It was not a good week last week. It was not a good week. So that's what I've been doing, and if you've kind of listened to that and thought, well, that's all well and good, but I don't really understand it because you've just blurted fire hosed information at me, go by the bullet journal method and have a look at it. But at the very least, write stuff down. Don't just panic about things. Write them all down and set your goals, figure out what you need to do to reach them, break it all down into bits.
Hugely psychologically comforting to have a plan rather than just have a big heap of overwhelm coming your way.
Absolutely. And you know what else is important? Oh, the other thing I've done is I've incorporated bits of self-journal that I really like. So I like the day that's broken into, I have the hours of the day down the side, 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. So I can section my day off. And then I also still do my daily gratitude in the morning and the evening, things that I'm grateful for, because I think that's really important as well. But the other thing that I've done today is, after I'd mowed the lawn.
Well, it was on the list.
I mowed the lawn in between doing all of this planning, and every time I felt like I needed to get up and move around, I went and did a bit more lawn mowing because we've got a giant lawn and the ride-on mower's broken. So I was doing all.
You broke the ride-on mower?
No, it broke.
Mm-hmm. It's fine. Last time I used it.
Wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, the ride-on mower needs a new drive belt for the blades.
Hooray!
So I hand mowed better part of an acre, which
I mean, with a petrol mower.
With a petrol mower,
just,
yeah.
You just had to walk
I didn't
around
do it with
behind
like
it.
scissors or anything.
You just didn't sit on it and drive around. That's the only difference. You walked around with it.
But the point that I'm making, Joe, is that after I'd mowed the lawn, which needed doing before we go to Portugal, it looked really good. And I sat there and I was like, I've just accomplished this on my own. And it sounds like a really stupid thing. You might be sitting listening to this thinking, you fucking mowed the lawn. Get over it. But I've got quite a lot going on in my life at the moment. And so when I'd mowed the lawn, I was sitting there looking, I was like, it looks really good. I actually feel really good about this. And so I've created a new collection in my bullet journal notebook that says achievements and things to be proud of. And I mowed the lawn. And it looked really good. And I'm gonna sit there and take 5 minutes and think, this is a good thing that I have done and achieved today. And I think it's really important to do that with your little tiny wins like mowing the lawn, as well as your really big wins like, oh, I've just published my book.
Yeah.
Or I've just won a new client. It's just as important to celebrate the little things as well. If you're having a really tough day and it feels like cleaning out the fridge is a major goal, bloody write it down and then celebrate it. Give yourself a little high five. Because sometimes even just cleaning out the fridge feels like too much. In fact, cleaning out our fridge always feels like too much.
It's never good.
No. So yeah, what's the takeaway, Joe?
Get stuff out of your head, write it down. Don't stew over it. Don't stress. Break it into small pieces. Schedule it. Prioritize it. Do it.
Yes.
And then allow yourself a moment of satisfaction that you have done the thing before you go wading into the next one.
Yes. Thank you.
No worries.
I hope that helps a few people who, may have minor mental breakdowns over muesli. And if it doesn't, then if you just listened to this and thought that I'm a total lunatic, well, screw you.
Probably right. But we'll talk about something different next week, so try again next time.
Well, coming up next week, we are going to be live-ish from Breaking Bread, Portugal.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Live-ish?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we'll record it while we're there, but by the time people listen to it, it'll be like a week later.
Isn't that how it normally is?
Yeah. But I like to say live, even though it isn't. It's a bit of a lie.
Oh, I'm confused.
Well, that's normal.
We'll be doing another one. Another podcast from Portugal.
We'll be coming from Portugal with the breadheads next week. So we'll see you. Well, hear you. You'll hear us. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, no, hang on. We've got a call to action. Hang on. What's going on in Superheroes Land, if you're still listening?
Everybody's just turned it off.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. So we'll be in Breaking Bread, Portugal.
I think we just said that.
Yeah. My book is with the Indexer.
Right.
Which is a little win.
Yes.
And I'll be launching my new book in August. Ooh. So that's super exciting. If you've listened to every episode of this ridiculous podcast, email me, Vicky@vickyfraser.com with your postal address, and I will send you a little gift. Nice. Because you are a super fan. And if you like this podcast, go and subscribe on iTunes.
5 stars.
And leave us a 5-star review and rating, please. Yes, that would be great. Or if you don't want to go and do that, then please do, because more people will find us if you do, and it makes Joe smile a lot. He really likes reviews. It
I do like reviews.
Gives him a little happy. Or share it. If you know somebody who will enjoy this nonsense, send them a link. Go to vickyfraser.com/podcast.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll be back same time next week. I'm sure you'll be delighted to hear.
Bye.
Bye.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.